TV. What was that? You better get a fresh dip and buckle up. Larry Porst II, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Mark Neville the First. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Don't forget, Larry, Bigfoot matters.
Oh, okay. I won't forget that.
All right. Well, one thing that we want to say is this past week we hit 3,000 subs. So that's pretty impressive. Remember, Larry, it took us about a year just to get 100. So that's certainly worth noting, and we just want to appreciate everybody that follows us and comes on and interacts in the live chat. And if you have questions, then put them in all caps, and Miss Sally Olin will be sending them to us. And we're going to be showing some impressive videos of some trackways tonight, Larry. So we might as well just go ahead and bring on our guest and get this game started.
I think that'd be a great idea. Our guests tonight are from the SBA. We got Brian, Dustin, and Shane. How are y'all doing tonight?
Great.
Doing well.
Awesome.
We are really excited to have y'all on here tonight. And these videos, you can just imagine being in the middle of nowhere and coming across these trackways. But before we get started in that, Dustin, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and any hobbies, whether they're Bigfoot or not Bigfoot related?
Well, I'm Dustin Clark. I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. I run my own business, which is I do leathercraft. It's called Clark Leather Creations. I do it full time and use it to pay for my Bigfooting hobby, basically. I go hunting, fishing, bow fishing, just about everything you can do outdoors. And got 2 little girls, married, and I got an ornery, knot-headed of a hound dog.
I'm glad you said hound dog and not wife.
Well, I would have, because she won't be watching this, but I know Lauren Smith is going to be watching, and she's friends with my wife, so that's an issue.
Shane, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a graphic artist. I love the woods, love mountain biking, hiking. What's even made that better was joining up with these guys and going out into the woods and looking for something that's just, I don't know how to explain it. It just blows your mind. But yeah, been in marketing for over 15 years. Do logo design, digital video editing, audio, pretty much anything that's art and digital, I pretty much do. So that's pretty much what I got.
Well, you're way smarter than me and Larry. Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Oklahoma, also right here in Mustang, Oklahoma, which is a little bit west of Dustin. I'm a service manager for a heavy equipment company, and a lot of hunting, fishing, stuff like that, outdoors, camping, and just looking for this Bigfoot fella.
Aren't we all?
Yes, sir.
Brian, why don't you tell us a brief history of the origins of the SBA?
Yeah, I mean, it started with Shane, Dustin. We had a couple other guys that we all were in another group, and I think we just kind of clicked, hit it off real well, decided we didn't like the way that group was moving, thought we could do it our way and it would be a little bit better way. So that's what we did. And it was a little slow to start. Then it really got some traction, got some momentum. And I think now, Shane, we're like, over 3,100 members?
Mm-hmm.
I think is what we passed this week. So I remember just, a couple of years ago when we was at 500 members and we thought that was just awesome,
Yeah.
So excited. But it's been great because, we've met a lot of great people and we got to do it our way, which is a little bit different. We stress the alliance part of it and trying to collaborate with other groups and not make this such a hostile community, because it can be at sometimes. There's a lot of groups out there that like to fight and compete with each other and one up each other, whereas we like to kind of open our arms and invite other groups and other guys and other women into and go on these expeditions with us and check out our areas. I think we were probably one of the first groups to open our area, our main area, which is Bison. You can see the map right behind me. A lot of people thought we were crazy for putting that as a public spot, saying, hey, join us in this hunt for this thing. We got a lot of grief over that when we did that. But for us personally, it got a lot of individuals to come out to our area, and some of those people are just going to be lifetime friends for us. So it paid huge dividends for us.
How many times a year do y'all get together on expeditions for SBA?
As far as a group, it's kind of hard because everybody's got different lives and different schedules. Like for me, instance, I tracked my 2018, and I logged 62 nights in Southeast Oklahoma. And that's a lot. That's 2 full months of my 12-month year. But when you're raising kids and like Dustin's starting a company, you got to dedicate all that first. I was self-employed at that time, so I had a lot of free time where I could take some 3 and 4 day weekends. Don't have that luxury now, so I'm a Friday and Saturday night guy. But yeah, we try to get out as much as we can. I know Dustin and them were out last weekend. I wanted to. I was all set to go, and then family life happens and you can't. So I would say we probably can agree that we don't get out enough that we would like to, but we do take advantage of every time we can. So even if it's just a day trip, meeting at Squatch Creek and spending an afternoon there, we like to utilize it if we can. So
one thing that I really appreciate about the SBA, and you kind of mentioned about being inclusive about your area, but another thing that I have bragged on y'all about are y'all's youth events, where y'all bring in youngsters and you get them involved and into this Bigfoot topic and this interest. Shane, would you like to talk to us about the youth events and how y'all are inclusive for young folks?
It's a great way for these kids to get out and be together and kind of see like the tracks that we've cast their own footprints. Brian, he brought everybody headlamps. So you got a bunch of little kids running in the woods with headlamps and it's not like it's not like a beat down education on this, because hell, we don't know anything as much as everybody else does. Who knows? But it's just fun, and that, to have that experience as a kid, maybe that'll spark, their imaginations, their thirst for the subject as they get older, and hopefully continue, that same kind of path that's being brought, to them with just, it's all heart, man. It's all about the heart.
Yeah.
We do need to get another one going, but of course, this year's like gone in the dumper. Everything's canceled. Social distancing. I don't even have to go on with that crap, but it is what it is for 2020 right now.
Right.
I was surprised that we got out in April to Squatch Creek and found more tracks. That was like the best thing that happened this year, I think, for us as a group. I think that was wow. That was mind blowing.
Dustin, tell us about the goals of SBA and how you foresee the culture and what the SBA is trying to accomplish.
Well, it's all in our name. We want, to have alliances with everybody, especially people that we can trust. We want the community to be the same. It sucks that it's not that way. You have people infighting, backstabbing, and everything, and eventually, hopefully, we can all get along for 1 year, 6 months at that, and maybe eventually find a solid way to either see these things, track them, or just completely discover them.
Brian, some of the toughest obstacles that field researchers and groups will face is not rivers, mountains, and terrain, but it's this cesspool of bad actors of social media that you have to contend with their opinions and egos, envy and ugliness. And I know Larry and I have both bragged about the SBA and how you spoke of earlier of being inclusive with where your research areas are and trying to bring in people. Can you kind of talk to us about that decision to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, we've had our own run-ins with, TV celebrities and things, and I could fill your show with that topic alone, but we won't do that because we don't want to stay on a negative subject too long. But for us, yeah, like I said earlier, we did catch a lot of grief. I had several people message me or call me and say, "Man, are you crazy for putting your main research area out there like that?" And that's the thing with us. We want to do it different, and it may not be the right way, but I don't think it's the wrong way either, And like I said, we just met so many great people, and we've met people that we didn't invite again, and that's just the way it goes. You're going to run into those type of folks. But there's some other people that we met that just, even outside Bigfoot, they're special to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a risky maneuver, and I know whenever I originally kind of threw the idea to several of the guys, they kind of all raised an eyebrow at me, like, "Man, what's he doing? And where's he going with this? But I think once I kind of pitched the idea a little bit, everybody jumped on quick and was like, "Yeah, this will be something different," and it'll kind of set the tone for the community and see if we can kind of get that out there a little bit. And we've had that luck. We've had people, invite us to places that maybe they don't invite to other, other groups and things like that. So it's been reciprocated. So it's not like it's just been one-sided. We've reaped some rewards on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like the bison area. It's like, we're just a group of what we usually have out there, guys, like 10 or 12 people at the most, maybe something like that.
Sometimes, yeah.
There's like miles and miles of vast wilderness. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Like we need an army, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of times we'd be out there for 3 days and maybe see one person out there. That's not with our group, and it's too big of an area.
That sounds like a real remote area. Dustin, why don't you speak to us and describe your methods of field research?
I suppose it's just about like everybody else's. Well, I say everybody else's. I don't know what everybody else does, but I mean, it's just like if you're going out there to hunt deer, you're looking for signs, you're looking for tracks, listening. Is that 2 footfalls, or is that 4? Is that a armadillo running through the woods, or is it a hog coming after you? We use audio recorders, cameras. I think we just recently, Brian, got a night vision.
Yeah, Brian has a FLIR.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I have
he's
the
got a
FLIR
FLIR.
and night vision. Yeah.
But it's basically a lot of walking, looking, driving around and looking. And if it's too hot, we find somewhere cool to jump into the water.
Y'all also use kayaks in y'all's
Oh, yeah.
research, and I really like that. Brian, talk to us about using the waterways.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic principles, just with like any other wildlife. Everything's got to have water to survive. So when we get into this area like bison, I mean, you can see on this map, that's Broken Bow Lake, and there's a lot of tributaries that come off that Mountain Fork River. So we're all over that area. So for us, we could drive into an area that's already remote to begin with. We throw the canoes and kayaks in the water. We're going into areas that we don't have to worry about, misinformation. We know there's no one back there because we know there's no roads back there. So if we hear something, I mean, we can kind of rule some things out, which really gives us a huge advantage. And it just gets us in an area quietly. I think that's the big thing. And we'll take those boats, in the middle of the night. It might be 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're floating through there just as quiet as can be. And we can get into an area, we can stop, we can bank it, listen for a little bit, look around. I mean, I think it's a huge advantage. And then on top of that, it's a lot of fun. So, I mean, why not? And it's hot. So, like Dustin said, you could roll off the canoe or roll off the kayak and just swim for a minute, cool off, and keep going. So, whereas a lot of guys are just beating brush.
Usually Shane and Brian
I knew
roll
it.
off unintended.
I knew it. I knew it. Dustin, you're breaking up. We're losing you, Dustin. Can we get you to reset? One time.
And no cameras were filming, I don't think. So.
Nope.
And my beard at the time saved me from drowning, so it's all right.
Oh, man.
That's good stuff.
That's what it's about, is being, for me anyway, is being around good people, honorable people, people that you enjoy sharing a campfire with, that somebody that you would spend the weekend fishing with, and just enjoying their company. And for me, that's one of the biggest joys that I get out of going and looking for this critter. And you think about some of the things that I've seen, waterfalls and rivers and streams and mountains. Not your average person will ever see anything like that, because they will not trek off into the woods looking for any of this.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was one night we were coming back from an area that we call the Rock Bar, because it's literally like a little island of just white rocks. And we were headed back to camp, and we had headlamps on, and you're kayaking and canoeing. And just right above us, there's like hundreds and hundreds of bats
Oh,
literally flying around us, dipping in front of us, catching mosquitoes. You're doing your paddle like this, and you'll see a bat, and they'll like just whip around your paddle because they're just awesome like that. And just to see that was I mean, I still talk about it. It was just amazing.
wow.
Yeah.
Let's see, Brian. Let's start into these trackways. Now, this isn't the first trackways that y'all have came across, but this recent trackway, why don't you paint for us a picture of how y'all found it and what all y'all found?
Okay. And this has been going on now since, and the guys may have to refresh my memory on the dates. I believe it was April 2018 was the first set. And we talk about being at the right place at the right time, but this wasn't one of those situations. There was a young girl that posted the pictures on a mushroom site and was kind of half jokingly wondering what they were. I contacted her, asked her if she would mind showing me where they are, and met up with her that same day, Tim Autry and I. And she took me to the area where she saw them. She had been mushroom hunting and pointed to them. I saw them. I cast them as soon as I could. I think we pulled 2 that day. They were the 16-inch. Didn't really check the area out very well. Didn't really want to put a big push on it. We just cast and we left. I think we went back in, was it January?
No, we went back 2 days later, and we spent a good 6 hours out there.
Okay, yeah. But when we found the first 20-inch, I think that was January that following year, right?
No, that was June.
June?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So we go back, we find one very faint 20-inch track that has a deer track impression in it. That was just being at the right place at the right time. I mean, we'd been there, we missed it. Everybody had missed it. We happened to glance back and saw it barely, the toes under some leaves. Went back, knocked the leaves off, and there we were. We poured that one. I have that one here with me now, and I can show you pictures of it if you want to. And then Shane, when was the next time?
Let's see. The next time was so you got spring of 2018. You got 16-inch tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Summer is a 20-inch, and we're like, okay, now there's possibly for sure two
creatures for sure. Yep.
And then January 2019, they were together in the area.
Yep.
So that was like,
yeah.
And we pulled quite a few tracks from that one.
Yeah, we did. And then the last one, how long ago now has that been?
That was April of this year.
April this year. So yeah, almost 2 years to the date is when we found the last trackway.
It's almost like it's their, I don't know if it's seasonal. For me, I think it's seasonal area that they go through, maybe. Of course, we all have our own different opinions on this.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it may have something to do with mating season for me is where I kind of lean towards. So it's just a rendezvous point. Kind of like an old buck that makes a mark and he's comes by and checks it frequently, waiting for that doe to be there at the right time. And
he just walks up and
and that's kind of my thought, on it. So, but that's just our own ideas. And like I said, like Shane said, we all have different ideas to why we think they're crossing right there. So,
also found the pigeon toe ones. December 6th.
No, that was 2019 because you and I were in Falk.
Yep. Yeah, and that's when I found what he's calling his pigeon toed. It's just it was I think 5 or 6 tracks. They weren't very big. It was in the water. The water had dried up and receded, so the tracks weren't very definitive. But the right foot was like toed in real hard, so it was like he was left toe was forward and the right toe was always in like that. So it was odd. I mean, I wish I would have cast it. There was definitely no toe definition or anything like that. But we took some great measurements, a lot of great photos of it. So
Yeah, Brian got great measurements on that where you can like actually see maybe it was picking up speed
sure, yeah,
Hmm.
and like really trucking.
So, like the stride was expanding.
correct.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he had come off. It had come off of a berm area and stepped off into what I believe was water there at that time. And there's a lot of beaver dens there, so I don't know if he saw something on the other side or somebody was driving by or something. But for whatever reason, it started gaining momentum as it ran across that area. So,
Hmm.
and had the water not receded, I would have never seen it. So, a little bit of luck came into play that day for sure.
There's actually a picture of Brian trying to do the stride himself with the first, step, and it looks like he's going to pull a hammy.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm almost like a Heisman pose. So.
Have y'all went into this area and done any nighttime investigations or anything, or any
Oh, yeah.
campouts?
Oh yeah.
Y'all have any activity?
There was one time, I think it was I want to say it was Memorial Day weekend of 2019. Me and Darren Smith were out there, and it was just about dark, and he did kind of a howl, and kind of in the distance, kind of towards where we usually find the tracks, we heard a whoop, but I can't say for certain. I still kind of lean towards probably person, but I haven't heard that many whoops, so I can't say 100% sure. But I don't think we've really had very much out there.
I've never heard any wood knocks out there or anything like that. Found one structure, but I was able to take it apart myself. So I leaned more towards that being, made by a person. I don't know about you guys, but like when you see a woods, like for me, it has to be like so majestic and so crazy that I'm just like, okay, there's no anything else but what I think it is,
Right.
Yeah.
What are y'all's protocols with sharing evidence that y'all collect? Brian?
Well, I know. Okay,
All
go
right.
ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
I mean, we basically share everything. We don't keep a lot of stuff secret. Now, we may hang on to it for a little bit and talk about it with each other before we make the decision to, make it public. Because we want to be pretty critical of our own stuff first, because we don't want to put something out there that, we may not have put much thought into, and then someone points something out to us and, we look like idiots, So we're going to bounce it around between the group, and we may bring some outside guys in to look at it and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? But we have pretty much posted everything that we have found. There's been a lot of, like Shane was saying, like that structure, there's things that we have our own doubts about that we haven't shared. And maybe we should, just to kind of get a little bit more feedback. But there's been a lot of, sounds, and we have a photo right now that, and I know the guys can kind of tell you more about that too, is there at Squatch Creek, we have a photo of what I think is eye shine. But we can't get very definitive on it, and we've asked for a little bit of help on that and from an outside source, and we haven't got anything yet. But I think we actually caught this thing turning its head, and we have a little bit of a blurry eye shine caught on a trail camera. But we just don't know yet. So, but for the most part, we share everything. That's another part of the alliance part. We want to put it out there. We want the criticism, and yeah, we get a lot of the hate messages too, just like everybody else does, and we get the TV personalities telling us we're doing it wrong, and and I don't mind, like if you want to say my track ain't real, that's fine, that's your opinion, but I look at them every day. I mean, I walk out my bedroom, it's on my office table here. I see this thing every day. I seen it. I was with these guys when we poured it. I know it's real. So I don't need this celebrity to believe me. But the only time I have an issue with someone is when they want me to do something for them. You want me to say this because you think this. That's where we run into the issues with those guys. So if you just honestly think, hey, Brian, I think your track's fake, hey, that's your opinion. I'm not going to hate you for it. But if you want me to
where
say,
they come from.
yeah, and then in the process, hey, by the way, where's that cast at? If you want to give me your honest opinion, say this is why I think it's not real. I'll listen to you. I mean, we're not closed-minded guys at all. Right. But if you're gonna tell me hey, that's definitely fake, and when I look at your page or your website or your photos, and I see things that my 5-year-old can make with mud out in the front yard, man, we got issues at that point. So.
Well, unfortunately, this community is riddled with experts that are experts in nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But they're happy to tell everybody else what they need to do and what they haven't done right.
Yep, totally.
And half of them don't leave the living room.
That's true.
So.
Yes, it's frustrating at times, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt. If you let it bother you too much, it'll beat you down to where you just want to give up. And I mean, we're too resilient for that. We're not going to let some guy on TV tell us something and try to discredit us and make us think we wasted our time. I mean, we know what we got, I mean, right. and you guys know who I'm referencing, I mean, it's no secret. I mean,
yeah,
especially when there's like a lot of bashing and it's all encompassing how it is, and you're like, okay. And he's like, but where did you cast this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not a real Bigfoot hair, but where did you get that again? And how many more do you have?
Could I borrow?
Yeah, exactly. Can you send that to me?
Yeah. It's sad.
There is just so many people that are envious of other people's success. And I know with the Beast Group, when Larry and Shelly and myself started this group 5 years ago, that one of the things that we stressed is we don't care what groups you're in. I know people that are in certain groups that are fantastic people, and I respect them. And then there'll be other people that are in that same group, and it's like, I can't get away from them quick enough. And Larry, I think about when we went to Titanium Swamp, and me, you, and Shelly were there. And I'm not sure if it was the butt print that was found first or the baby prints. And Shelly has a really good camera and took all kind of pictures from different angles and videos. But when we went back and looked at them, it's just not three-dimensional, the way that we actually saw them in the field. And I don't understand why people would be so critical to point out and just call something fake, basically call you a liar, for what you found, because it's totally different seeing evidence, or should I say possible evidence, in the field and then trying to document it and then to share it to get honest opinions from people, and then they just want to shoot you down. Shane, what are your thoughts on how y'all go about debunking your own evidence?
Oh, well, first of all, January of 2019, when you've got 11 tracks out there, you're talking about that Oklahoma, red sand,
Yeah.
itself is pretty highly you can't penetrate that great. So you're talking about January with like wintry mixed weather,
Yeah.
and everything else just makes it even harder. So we're looking at these 20-inch tracks. Man, I took my own shoes and socks off and walked in this stuff as hard as I could, jumped up and down. I'm about 240, 250. I'm going to say 240.
I wouldn't have thought a pound over 220.
Hey, wait a second. And I'm telling you guys, I couldn't put, oh my God, like a little smudge of a print in this stuff. And we're talking about like a 20-inch track that's like punching it deep.
Yeah.
And if you think about like a deer, a deer's foot's almost like a spear. It can go deep every time because it's just like a little concentration of, and you're talking about something that's 20 inches and 10 inches wide, and just that's crazy. It just blows my mind. It's impossible to fake that.
Y'all have.
I mean, that's what we do. Like we'll like take our shoes off, or like when Brian saw what he saw out at Hardwoods, is what the area is called. Him and Tim, they saw something. We went back out there. We stuck guys down there, and as far away as Brian's viewpoint, and like I think it was like even two of us couldn't fill the void that Brian was seeing down there. And I mean, we're not like little skinny dudes. Well, I mean, Dustin's kind of a little skinny guy. But I mean, yeah, and we're not like huge and this big black mass. We couldn't replicate that. So we're always debunking, always, if we can, which we haven't really debunked anything yet. Not the evidence that we really believe in. Like it's impossible to make this fake or whatever. Here, look. I mean, let's look at this thing, man.
Yeah. Let's check them out.
I mean, you've got you can see the anatomy going up into the toe right here, and even this right here, you guys are saying this doesn't do it any justice. That's one thing that I pride us on is when we meet people and we bring these tracks, we want you to see them. Everybody needs to see these. You need to see these. Period. You need to see the anatomy. You need to train your brain to look for that because it's out there. And and this one right here, which is just crazy. This is from January 2019, and you can actually let me turn it around here. You can actually see where the big toe is going through the mud. That's where it finally was this last point, but it started down here. Man, it's so hard. And you can see it going through the mud. And this was January. This was wintry mix in a bank. And there's just no way you could punch to that bank and have all these 5 toes go through it.
Wow.
I mean, you guys, and we need to meet up so you guys can see this. I'm serious. Y'all have to see this. It blows my mind every day.
Well, Larry and I love Oklahoma. Some of the best interactions, best evidence that we have seen have been from Oklahoma. And it's just a matter of time before we share a campfire together.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. That would be cool. I think we would love that.
Definitely.
It would be the best.
Yeah.
Y'all kick us out of the camp in a day and a half.
Y'all get tired of feeding me and Larry.
No,
we can do that
that's
too.
one thing we do is we eat right. We eat
Oh, yeah.
Ain't no MREs with us. We're eating. So.
Good.
I think that was a jab, Larry.
We eat right. We eat right. We're grilling pork chops and frying bacon. I mean, we don't mess around when it comes to eating. So.
Sounds a whole lot better.
Oh, you get Kendall Bray involved, and he's like the best camp wife ever, isn't he?
Yeah,
That dude
exactly.
this dude's making campfire frittata in a Dutch oven. It's like, what's going on?
Brian, do you have any of your tracks close by
I-
that you can
I
show
do.
us?
I do. Hang on one second. So this is the last trackway we found. There's one there. I mean, you like Shane was saying. I mean, you can see the detail, pad-like formation there. The original 16s. Now this is the one where the girl had actually stepped on it. It was real wet that day in April. She stepped on that, so it kind of rubbed out that big toe. And that was the left, and then the right. This is my pure inexperience in mixed master.
But show that big toe, Brian, 'cause that big toe is
Yeah,
beautiful.
and there's that spade toe.
Wow.
And of course, the first 20-inch that we found that has the back in, and I'll keep it at an angle so you can there. But I mean that I think was it Shane like 3.5 inches, 4 inches.
Just that big toe.
I mean, almost my whole palm takes to cover that. So, and that was a old track. But yeah, this is the deer impression that was in the middle of it that just kind of kept collecting rainwater and.
Oh, and there's
runoff.
another ear impression too in between the big toe and the second toe.
Yep.
Because you know how deers will like stagger to go and
Yep.
drink out of the creek or whatever. That's what it was
Yeah.
doing, like right on top of that toe.
But this is I mean, you have this huge indention right here. I mean, like Shane said, you just have to see these in person. And we brought them with us when we were at Honubby. What was that? 2
That
years
was
ago.
2018. Yeah, it was
2018. Yeah. So we had brought them with us and set up a booth, and we sold some T-shirts and stuff like that. Really, just kind of hang out. But it wasn't like we were there to make money. We was just there to
Lyle
meet people, and kind of get our name out. But
Lyle and Ken came by to see him.
Yeah, Lyle Blackburn and Ken Gerhardt. Yep, stopped by and checked them out, and we met some cool people and got to hear some stories and things like that, and make some contacts. So it was definitely worth it.
That's cool. Brian, what kind of medium do you use to cast tracks with?
I mean, right now on everything we just been using plaster, just that we buy like at Home Depot or Lowe's. There is another product that I have run one test on. I was in the fence business for most of my life before I became a service manager. I had my own fence company for 12 years. But there is a product that is out there that I used as an additive for concrete, and you can actually pour it direct, and it's almost like a grout. And I went out there and I sampled it on just some wildlife tracks. I think there was coyote and raccoon tracks in that same creek bed. And I think we're going to try to switch to that. It's just a matter of us getting enough of that and keeping it with us. Maybe giving Dustin a bucket, Shane a bucket, and the other guys, Tim, a bucket, and just having that with us at all times. But I think it's going to be a faster setting product because it'll set up solid in about 30 minutes. And it also is going to mix better. It's not going to clump like plaster does. It's going to be something you can add the water, shake it up in a bag, and it's going to pour, not like, that plaster is almost like a pancake batter, when you pour it. And then if you don't have it mixed right, you get a clump in there, and then you end up with that stuff that I have on that 1/16-inch. But this stuff is a real fine. It's almost like sand, and you mix it with water, and it's real liquid form. So you'll definitely have to have some type of, we use like a tin sheathing around the cast so we can build it up. But it may be something that once I try it a few more times, and I'm sure we'll do a little video about it, and we'll post it on our group and say, hey, this is what we're using. But I love it because it's concrete. It's not like plaster that's delicate. It's almost like stone with that one that I have. So it's just a matter of getting out there and trying it again, though.
I tell you, if anybody has any expertise with casting tracks or know of any good videos on a step-by-step procedure, because that's a great idea, Brian, of making a video on that. put the link or put what you suggest in the comment section, because I think that's something that we can all learn, something that we can learn from each other. As far as, I guess our biggest problem, Larry, is when we hike in is you got to tote that stuff, and then you've got equipment and tents and or hammocks and food, a lot of food, and to last 3 days. And the last thing that you want to do is, tote in a bunch of hydrocowl or something like that. And so it would be really great if anybody knows any good videos on casting tracks to put it in the comment section, because that's what the Beast Group is all about, is sharing what we learn and learning from others. Dustin, acquired knowledge of these creatures provoke more questions and the motivation to get into the woods and find those answers. What questions stand out in the forefront that you were pursuing the answers for?
Well, one of the things I would like to know is, or one thing I would like to find out about is whether tree knocks are actual tree knocks. Because down in our area in southeast Oklahoma or in Squatch Creek, you can walk around almost all day and pick up every stick that you find on the ground and hit it against a tree, and it's going to shatter because it's rotten. That's why it's on the ground. And you can never find anything. Well, I haven't found anything that I've just picked up off the ground and hit, and it sounded like a baseball bat. I would like to know I would like to find out whether they're carrying a club around like a caveman, or if they're doing some kind of hitting their chest like a gorilla, or if they're doing like a tongue clap or mouth pop or something. I would like to know about that. And that's all I got at the moment, besides seeing one in the daylight.
You had a pretty good sighting in Fouke, Arkansas. Would you like to tell us about that sighting?
Well, it was nighttime, and I didn't get as much detail as I would have liked, but Shane was there, or Shane, Lauren, Kendall, Bill, and Stephen Hill were out there. And we'd gone down this road that was a cul-de-sac, and we pulled down, turned our cars around facing outward, and Lauren and Kendall had walked down this trail behind the trucks away from us. And Shane, Stephen Hill, and
Shelly
Bill.
Austin. Shelly Austin was there too.
Was she?
Yeah.
No, because she had left that night.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. That was the night Kendall ran into the bar in the back of the truck.
Oh.
So it was Shane, Steven, and Bill in front of, I believe they're in front of my truck, and I just walked towards the entrance of the road, and I was going to stand and watch down the road because I figured with the moon being out, I could see something go across the road. Because it's a bright white gravel road, I'll see a shadow go across it. And I don't remember how long I was standing there. And after a little bit, my back was started hurting because we'd been running all weekend. So I kind of knelt down on the ground. And just about when I did that, something caught my eye to the left. And I'm not sure how far off it was, but from left to right, I saw a silhouette go. And what I was seeing was when I turned my eyes, I could see the silhouette, but what I could really see was like the different layers of its hair, and on the arm, the head, the arm, and a little bit of the leg, I saw the moon reflecting off of the hair, and it was just a split second. And I called Stephen Hill over because he had night vision binoculars, and we looked and couldn't see anything, and we stood there and talked for a minute, and then we decided to walk down. We were just going to walk down the road, see if we could hear anything. And we walked down a little ways, and we were standing there, and I glanced over, and I thought I'd seen something go between two trees, and we're looking down a slight hill, and I get his night vision binoculars up, and I don't know technology at all, so I didn't know there was a zoom. I didn't know you could zoom in, zoom out. I didn't even know there was a record on it. And I'm sitting there trying to find this tree that I thought I saw this thing go behind. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure it out. And Shane walks up about that time. And so I line this little sapling up that was in the ditch with the tree that I thought I saw something go behind. And I have Shane standing right in front of that sapling. So I'm following Shane's body up. And right when I get just above his head, something peeks out real quick. And I see just half of the face. And I didn't see any detail. But my immediate reaction was like, oh, shh. And I handed the binoculars to Steven. I said, look above Shane. And he brought it up. Couldn't see nothing. We didn't hear nothing run off. We ended up slowly walking down the hill. Didn't see anything else. Didn't hear anything run off. Don't know where it went. And when we came back up the hill, Stephen Hill is 6 foot. Do you remember how big Stephen Hill is?
No,
Shane?
he's just taller than me.
Yeah, he's like 6'2" or 6'3", I believe. And
He's a tall guy.
yeah, we had him stop at that tree, and we walked back up the road. And I looked down with his binoculars, and what I saw was several inches taller than he was. Like,
I actually walked out there too.
mm,
I walked out there, and I will say this: walking out there, man, I had the EB-jeebies. That's the only thing I had. You could feel it all. I was like, oh damn, what did I just do?
and it's funny because we've
everybody
always
else?
talked about. Huh?
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say what we've always talked about is when we see one, we're just going to chase after it. And in that moment, like, I was excited. I wasn't scared. And I kind of turned to Shane and I was like, should we run at it? And I think we both looked at Steven and we're like, because Steven, this is his area. He was nice enough to take us out there. And I was like, Steven, have you ever just kind of bluff charged these things? He was like, yeah, we did it once, but we didn't have anything else happen that night. And I was like, all right, well, let's just pretend we didn't see nothing and walk down there. And nothing else.
EB-jeebies. Yeah.
Brian, thinking back to when you first started searching for this creature, has your opinion changed as far as what these creatures are?
It has, and it's probably just because different situations make me think different things. But I was in that Gigantopithecus area there for a while, where I thought this was some type of spin-off of that thing. But now I kind of lean towards more of a Neanderthal type, more of a missing link, which has a huge effect on my Bible friends, that think that there is no such thing as a missing link. But
on this ridge,
so I go back and forth,
right
and it's
there.
just because of different things that I find,
with the left,
that makes me think it's
step
more
right
human
here,
than animal.
with the right.
Well, I think
We
it's
think it jumped.
important to be
Right there.
open-minded, and
That's a print.
so many times what we see in the community is people will agree 95% of their own theories, but that 5% they will crucify each other. They will go out of their way to just tear somebody down. And we really don't know. We just have our own opinions and own agendas, and then until a logging truck hits one and the scientists are actually able to study it and tell us, then we really don't know. And so, Shane, has your opinion changed as far as what these creatures are since you've been searching for them?
Well, of course, because I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I did. I wanted to get into it, and of course, I was 50% sure there might be something out there, and then after these tracks, I was 95% sure, and the last 5% is me actually seeing one. But hearing all these different accounts from everyone, you hear some that look like apes, some that look like Native Americans. It's like, to me, it's like, is it a real hominid? Is it a great ape? What if it is? What if it is Nephilim? What if it is? What if everybody is right? When people talk about these things going through portals and stuff, I've never seen that, but I've also gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna listen because I wasn't there, but I'm gonna listen, and I'm not gonna judge because I wasn't there. But yeah, I think I still lean towards more like maybe like a relic hominid of some sort. Something like that.
Dustin, what about you?
Well, I definitely believe they're flesh and blood. I'm more of they're just a really smart great ape out there running around. I think it'd be pretty awesome if it was some Neanderthal out there running around, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a big monkey running around out there. That's just really smart.
Well, I think this really speaks of each of y'all's maturity level, that y'all can have different opinions, but still respect the other one's opinion. And that's the biggest problem that we see in this community, that somebody that will have a different opinion and just tear them down. And it really, my thing is to, and I've said it 100 times, is let the evidence speak for itself. And I think that as long as we do that and don't try to mold that evidence like Play-Doh into our own theories, and be objective and be willing to listen to other people's opinions and theories, I believe that will help us put the pieces of the puzzle together. Go ahead, Larry.
I was just going to say, it's funny that Mark and I don't share the same belief in what this thing is either. But that don't stop us from going out as a team and looking. I mean, the evidence still the same. You have tracks, you have structures, you're looking for food that they eat, water, all the same things. And until we're smart enough to put all these things together and lead us to one of these things so we can lay eyes on it and see it, to know what it is, it don't matter what my opinion of it is or Mark's opinion.
Yeah.
We get the end result.
And it's not going to stop us from going to the buffet before or after, is it?
No,
Okay, Larry, I think that we're going to need to get started on these questions. We have a bunch of questions that our audience.
They're mostly for Dustin, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just start off with what Spencer.
They want to know about that beard.
Spencer Jameson asked Dustin, "What is the name of your leatherworks company?"
It's Clark Leather Creations, and Creations is spelled with a K.
Okay. And I just want to tell everybody that's watching this podcast now or later that we are going to put a link up. So if you, I know that our buddy Bama Murdoch has bought a knife sheath from you, and Dustin does excellent work and is so detailed in his work. And if you're looking to get any type of leather work that has what I call the old timers craftsmanship, then Dustin is one that you definitely want to at least check out his leather works.
Thank you, Mark.
There you go. All right. CD Squatcher asks, he's asking us if we finalized the meet and greet. And Debbie has not finalized that yet. But I'm going to turn this question to SBA. When's y'all's next public event? Or do y'all have one in mind yet?
We've had a few people ask, but I don't think we've actually come together and sat down and picked a date yet. So
I was kind of milling a idea around. We all talked to Waldy, and kind of like getting together and bringing all these tracks together, like all of, and really having a meet and just discussing it and just letting people look at it. Bring a tape measure, whatever you want to bring,
Yeah.
As
really
soon as it's under
into
70 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, like the kid thing, SBA Kids Weekend, we're kind of like in limbo on that right now because of the whole virus stuff. So.
Yeah, that's thrown a wrench in everything.
Yep.
Okay, Spencer Jameson has another question. It's directed to Dustin. And go into detail on your goals.
The goals of the SBA.
Basically bring the community together, get some pictures, get some audio of one of these things, and form a brotherhood with everybody, an alliance.
That's pretty good. Mark, should we read the next question for Dustin?
Why me?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I know who it's from.
No, actually, it's from Bama. And I guess we'll skip that one, Larry.
It's a good question, though. I think Shane and Brian would like it.
Oh, yeah, I want to hear it.
yeah, I got to hear it now.
Bama asks, if Dustin shaved his beard, would he still look like a cute hobbit?
Are you sure that wasn't from Lauren?
No, it says Bama Murdoch.
I'm cute no matter how much hair I got. So I'm the youngest, slimmest, and best looking of the group.
There you go.
I'm sorry. Dustin's transmission is failing also. We need to cut him down. So this is a show about facts, Dustin. All right.
Sounds like Brian just debunked Dustin.
I mean, Mark, let the evidence speak for itself. We got the pictures right here, buddy.
Okay. We have another question from Spencer. And again, it is directed to Dustin. And so Spencer asked Dustin, tell us about the armadillos.
Which ones? I think besides this past weekend, SBA and armadillos, we conflict every time we go out in the woods. Every time, it's always a damn armadillo. There was one time when, I think it was roughly when Brian and I first got started, and we were in Red Rock Canyon.
Yep.
I believe, and I've hunted almost all my life, so you can tell what something is usually. And it was around midnight, no moon, and something's coming through the woods at us, and it sounded bigger than the usual armadillo. And it got to the point where I've raised my headlamp up thinking I need to be looking higher, because whatever it sounded like it was breaking brush and it was getting loud. And I think I was the only one packing that night, and I believe I stepped in front of Brian, and I pulled my pistol out and I was like, all right, this has got to be a hog. It has to be a hog, because there's nothing 8 foot tall. It's got to be a hog, and it's loud. And out comes this little 5-pound armadillo. He almost got smoked. But we've kind of gotten used to him. I think about a month or so ago, me, Brian, and Michael Waldy went to Squatch Creek, and we were walking down the road, and there's a hill above us, and you could hear something walking up there. And we figured it was either the armadillos or deer. And I tell Michael, I'm like, hey, run up there and see what that is. Well, he kind of runs up there, and he gets to the top, and he's looking around. I believe he had his red light on, and he's looking around, and he goes to take a step, and he steps right between 2 armadillos, and they jump and run, and scared the hell out of him. But yeah, we're sieged by, there's the siege of Honubby. We got the siege of armadillos every time we go out almost.
Yeah, we've nominated the armadillo as SBA's state bird.
All right, I've skipped a few questions. Spencer Jameson wants to know from any one of y'all, do y'all feel like y'all are getting better results by the waterways as opposed to other areas?
I think so. Like when we were out in the Bison area down, was it Mountain Fork? And we came across those itty bitty 5-toed tracks, and they went for a good, 50, 60 yards and veered off the bank into a persimmons tree. Like, we would have never found that unless we were hitting the waterways.
Yeah.
That was, you can cover it. Hey, what was it, Brian and Dustin? We did 5 miles in 5 hours?
Yeah.
At one trip?
Yeah.
With all the rocks and stuff. And we saw a lot of bank that day. Lots of animals. So, like Brian said earlier, it's quiet.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of people that find tracks in the waterways, and as the water recedes, they become visible. And I know y'all have said y'all found several that way. Mm-hmm. Do you think they wade through the water to cover their tracks from being seen, or?
Oh, I know. Maybe, yeah, possibly. Like out of Squatch Creek, like when it's walking down the creek bed, and then for some reason it just hops up on that ridge where it's all hard and wood, and there's lots of foliage and stuff. And then if it finds its path, then it comes back out and goes across the creek. That's kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't it just go and then turn? If it didn't care,
Right.
So, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me, at least.
Okay. The next question is again directed to Dustin from Lauren. And,
oh boy, this question doesn't count.
And
Hold on, Mark. I can't hear you. You're cutting out.
Well, she would like to know if you recommend keeping your recorder on until you get back into the car in case something screams at you. And can you tell us about the time in which you missed a scream?
Well, we were in Falk, and Lauren said she had something throwing stuff from each side of her, and I walked down to see what she was hearing, and I could hear what she was hearing, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was something being thrown, or I originally thought it was pecans falling and hitting the ground, because it looked like I could only see the silhouette of the tree. I couldn't tell what kind it was. So I thought it was a pecan tree. So we walk up on this little berm, and we're sitting there listening, and I tried to get as close to the tree as I could, but there was a bunch of briars and whatnot. So I just turned around and I walked back up on the berm, and I go, I don't know if it's anything. I turned my recorder off, and just about that second, it started as like a scream, but it ended in an owl, which I think it was an owl, but it would have been awesome to have it on recording. But as soon as I hit off, it just let loose. I was like, "Are you?" There's some bad words said, and I walked off. I was like, "I don't care if that's a Bigfoot or an owl. I'm done for the night." And I walked back to the truck. And Shane says he just got kicked off the.
Yep. I saw that. Why'd you do that, Dustin?
He had more. He had more info on the story, so.
He may not have heard the story.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No.
I missed it.
Remember out at Falk when that scream.
When you were recording, you shut your recorder off right as something was happening?
Yeah.
And you got really mad?
Mm-hmm.
He got so mad that beard grew. That's the story of the beard.
All right. Lauren asked another question to Dustin about the time one possibly touched his tent, causing him to scream Michael Waldy's name at the top of his lungs like a 5-year-old girl, and how others had that happen as well.
That sounds fabricated.
No.
Okay, so we were in Falk this February 28th for the Falk camp out, and we'd gone out. Everybody had gone out, and I think we got back at like 3:00 in the morning. And my tent was the farthest away, and then Michael Waldy was in a hammock, maybe 15-20 yards from me, and then beyond him was Sid and his son, and then off to my right was Lauren and her mom a little ways up the hill. Well, I'm laying there and I'm trying to go to sleep, and I think I hear something in the wood line behind me coming through the woods. I'm thinking, it's just a possum. Just go to sleep. You're tired. And I was at that point where I was almost asleep, and I could have swore I heard Michael say, "Dustin," just clear. And I snapped awake. Like, did I really hear that? I was sitting there listening, and then all of a sudden, it sounded like something touched the top of my tent and went shh, like a finger go down my tent, and then I heard, and that's about the second I was like, I knew Michael was in a hammock, so I said, I didn't scream, Michael. That's blown way out of proportion. But I bellowed
someone
for
running
Michael.
audio that night?
Yeah, but
we'll just have to review the audio.
Well, it wasn't a scream. So
was it a squeal?
No. So Michael pops up and turns his camera on, or turns his light on. He doesn't see anything. I never heard anything take off. That's all I heard for the rest of the night. And that was weird. Whatever that was.
Wow.
It was Pilgrim.
No. No.
Okay, Squatch Lady Paul asked, and I don't think that Dustin can do this, but can you tell us how to make a wallet in 5 easy steps? There's nothing easy about that, is it, Dustin?
Here. Let's see.
Sure, he could tell them. Go to Clark Creations and hit the buy button.
Yeah. There's all these different parts. There's 3 parts. It's a lot of work. It's a whole bunch of steps, but I do a lot of, sometimes when I'm doing different projects on my Facebook page, I'll kind of show the steps I do in picture form as I make stuff. So
You need to do a time lapse camera over your workspace.
There you go.
I've been thinking about it. I was because I make those DOP kits, and I was thinking about doing that. But
You do it, and I'll edit it for you. Speed it up, add stuff to it, some pizzazz.
Sweet.
That's how I do. That's my dude.
All right, Vistus Kane asks, what's the largest print you guys have found? Was it the 20-inch print?
20-inch is the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
20 inches, and according to some experts, if it's beyond 18, it's just not real, because he has a live specimen to go off of.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, Spencer Jameson with another question.
Another one?
Another one. And he's got it directed to Dustin, but we'll start off with Dustin, and because I know that y'all have mentioned that the boogers don't seem to be very vocal in y'all's area, but how many whoops have y'all heard in y'all's research areas?
I've only heard the one that I mentioned earlier, and I'm not even 100% sure it was one. I've heard occasional howls when we're out at bison, like in the fall or winter time, but like this past weekend, we had to make the coyotes howl. So,
Uh-huh.
The absolute best evidence we have is what Brian recorded in November of 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the old well out there in the bison area, and that I listened to that. Me and Brian, we've discussed this. We listened to it definitely weekly because it's just not right.
And actually, Brian wasn't able to be on with us on podcast 6, but we actually played that recording on podcast 6, and it was pretty impressive on the spectrogram of what Brian captured. So pretty cool evidence for possible Bigfoot activity.
Yeah, and the experience of it was probably even better. I mean, we caught that little snippet that you heard, but those howls happened the entire night. I mean, it wasn't just that one time. This thing stayed behind our tent, I guess, 100, 150 yards, and howled throughout the night. And it was probably one of the most nerve-wracking nights I ever had, just because my son was with us, and I'm in a tent, which I don't tent anymore. I built me a nice, hard structured bug out just for my own personal well-being. But yeah, to hear that thing howl the entire night, we heard it the next morning. We had another guy, Kendall, come in from Arkansas the following night, and then heard it again. So it wasn't like we were hearing one thing that was like, what was that? I mean, it was an aggressive howl to me. Like, it did not like the idea of us being there. So.
All right. Debbie Jones asked, has anyone tried using the spray foam to cast a track? I know y'all said y'all pretty much just use plaster, but have y'all experimented with other things?
I think I would have to experiment on my own footprint first, maybe.
Yeah.
Because once you mess that track up, you can't replace it.
Yeah.
And you don't every day.
Exactly. You don't see that.
Okay, we
Go
got.
ahead, Brian.
I was gonna say the only thing I was worried about with the spray foam, because it's come up in conversation, is just the expansion of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Once it gets down in the toes and in between the toes, once that stuff starts to expand, is it just going to distort the track? And like Shane said, it might be something we want to experiment, one day when we're out there and we want to take our shoes off and make our own tracks, and play with it. But that would be the only thing I'd be worried about. And the fact that it may not pick up as much detail like the plaster does or the hydrocal or this new product that I'm getting ready to try. So,
yeah.
I think I'm getting all of Spencer's questions, Larry. And they're all directed at Dustin. Can Dustin describe what a tongue clap is exactly?
Yeah, Dustin. Well, you would. It's where you like suction your tongue to the top of the roof of your mouth and pop it down, and it makes a snap sound.
Can we get a demonstration?
All right. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Don't get any beard in there.
All right, now turn your eyes away. Don't look at me when I do it. No.
Okay, we'll do that.
It's like all right, so it'd be like kind of thing, but obviously louder because they probably have bigger tongues, or I don't know. That's what.
I worked with a guy, and I guess he just had a bad habit of doing it, but he walked around everywhere he went, clucking his tongue like that. It was a strange thing, and it was loud. So I can.
That is strange. Is he the one they put in the mental hospital? All right. Brian Patrick Noble asks, how and why is Oklahoma such a good place for Bigfoot and so much activity in the central location of North America? I think I should have stopped at the end of how Oklahoma is such a good Bigfoot place.
Well, it's because Oklahoma's a great place to begin with. I mean,
is this a great state or what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and let's look at it for what it is. It may not be any better than Texas or Louisiana or Arkansas. It's just there's probably a lot of guys here looking for this thing, and it's a small state, so we have a great area like in southeast Oklahoma. I think there's 160,000 plus acres there in just that area that we go to. So maybe it's that. Maybe we're just finding better evidence here. Maybe this red soil is kind of creating this opportunity for us to find these tracks, things like that. But I don't think it's like a mecca, for Bigfoot or anything like that. I mean, I think Texas is equally great, just like I said, Arkansas, New Orleans. You even get up into Ohio, things like that. But so I don't think it's just because it's Oklahoma, and I'm not trying to sell Oklahoma on anybody because I don't want everybody to come here looking for my Bigfoot in my state. So I'm gonna be a little half guarded when I say this, but I think it has probably more to do with the researchers, with the people that are here. So just putting in the work.
Right.
Hey, I live in Texas, but like I always say, I hang my camping equipment in Oklahoma. Right?
Okay, Marquita Farmer. Now, this is a question, but I'm just going to kind of throw it out there, and I'm going to throw in my 2 cents worth. But Marquis says, ever consider that the tree knocks could be made with a fist? And I'm going to tell you, I have seen Kane Michael take his hand and cup it and slap a tree with it. And it is explosive. It is loud. And for me, that makes more sense that if somebody makes a tree knock and then you get a tree knock response within a matter of a second or two, that they've done it with their hand, whether they're chest slapping or cupping their hand and hitting a tree. It makes more sense to me than they're walking around with a big old limb like a walking stick. So, Brian, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Dustin kind of touched on it earlier. I was watching a show with the kids one day, and there was a gorilla, and he was just tapping his sternum, and it was a super loud, echoing pop. And I think they said that you can hear that up to like 5 miles or something like that. And so, to me, I think it may be that or a rock. It could very well be the hand cupping. I don't think they're walking around with a billy club and they're, smacking trees.
Yeah.
I just think that just doesn't seem practical to me. I'm leaning more towards it's their hand or that breastplate there. So.
All right. Can Squatch ask, have y'all heard of any activity up in the northern part of Oklahoma near the Kansas state line? Do y'all ever get up that way any?
I haven't been up that way. I mean, I've heard some people tell some great stories up there. I know there's a lot of, I think it's the Osage Indian tribe that's up there. They do a deal every once in a while where they do like a campfire deal where they story tell. I've been wanting to go to that. Haven't had a chance yet, but there's some good stories up in northern Oklahoma, especially in northeast Oklahoma as you get into Missouri. So, and Missouri has a couple places that are on my list, and I hope to get up that way here in the next month or two.
Larry, I believe you missed a question.
I tried to miss it. 'Cause I didn't understand it.
Okay. Debbie Jones asked Shane to show us his t-shirt designs that he has made for the SBA group, and Dustin is actually wearing one right now.
Oh, yeah. That's one of them. I don't have any.
Come on, Dustin, get that beard out of the
I'll
way.
tell you what. I'll put a link to that artwork
Okay, great.
in here. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Debbie.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's nothing. All right, Felix W. asks, when y'all went to Fout, did you all meet anyone from the original storyline incident of Boggy Creek?
No, but we did meet Keith Crabtree, who was the one who wore the costume for the movie. But we haven't met anybody from the actual encounters or anything.
What a great, big, old, nice fella that guy is, too.
Man,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? We actually had Keith on here to give us behind the scenes of making of the movie, and Keith is just he's just the kind of guy that you would want to spend the weekend around a campfire with.
Yep.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to do that, right, Dustin?
Yep.
I mean, this guy pulled up with a trailer full of
Firewood. Yeah.
And he's like, get back here and get you some, So you jump in the trailer and you're like grabbing these big logs with both hands, and he's just like grabbing it with one hand and throwing them like over you. Don't you? Yeah. That's a strong fella there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I kind of skipped Debbie's question. I think it was at Brian about the sighting you had at y'all's area.
Mm-hmm.
You hadn't had a chance to tell us about that.
No, it was September 17th, 2018, and we had went down. We did an open invite that weekend, so there was probably close to, man, we probably had what, 20, 25 people maybe that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say about 20.
And I ended up planning a 4-day trip there, so I got to stay an additional day. Tim Autry and I, everyone else left that Sunday, and there had been an area that was on my mind that I drove by a million times and been wanting to go in there and check out, and kind of just put it off. So finally, Tim and I got to talking. And I said, let's go check this area. We've never been down it. It's a little bit different than the rest of bison because a lot of bison is pine trees, and this was a hardwood area. And so that's why we call it Camp Hardwood. So we drive this little Jeep trail down to a dead end, and for whatever reason we get out, we don't have phones, we don't have a gun, we don't have, anything. We're just going to walk around, take a quick peek, and get back to camp. When we do, a doe runs through, but she's running in such a way that she's not noticing us. She's running through us and she's trying to get away from something. And so we kind of walk down the bottom of this little hill, and we're standing there, and we actually start talking about tree knocks, of all things. And I'm kind of mimicking some things, and I'm taking a rock and I'm hitting a tree and just kind of making that little echo. And so we start hearing some things kind of lob into us and just falling on the ground, and we can't really decide what it is. So we're trying to mimic the sound. We want to debunk. Let's narrow this down. So we pick up some acorns, we toss them in the air, and it's too light. And so we start picking up random sized rocks. Well, the only thing that came close to it was a rock about an inch and a half in diameter. But we're trying to figure out, where are these rocks coming from? And then we start to hear what sounds like footsteps. And then what this is we're on this area, and there's like a couple little ravines like that. And we hear something over these ravines coming down into the woods. And everything gets real quiet. And you know how it is. I mean, it's just dead silent, no birds, nothing. There's no bugs, anything. And it's probably 4 p.m. So, I mean, we have plenty of daylight. And I'm kind of scanning the area, just looking. And in my peripheral vision, I know there's this stump that's about 3 foot and 42 inches off the ground. Well, as I scan back, I notice the stump is bigger. And it's maybe 80 yards, you say, probably Shane, Dustin, about 75, 80 yards from where I was standing.
Yeah.
And the stump is taller at this point. And so I don't stare directly at it. I kind of keep it in my peripheral. And I notice this thing just kind of goes down behind the stump. And so now I'm thinking, all right, something is there, obviously. Is it a bear, doing the old back scratch against the tree and his head's bobbing up over it? Likely, it's Southeast Oklahoma. We do have black bears. So I keep watching, and it does this 3 or 4 times. And at this point, I know it's not a black bear. I'm seeing a head, and it's just pitch black. And I finally, as it goes down, I get Tim to come over, and I'm pointing at it. And so I'm staring at Tim like at the side of his head, and he's probably about 18 inches away from me, and he's staring directly at it. And I'm saying, there's a stump, just stare at it, don't take your eye off of it. And as soon as this thing raises up, Tim's body language just sold it for me, because the guy just trembled like he shook. And I think his words was like, what the heck was that? And I'm like, just keep staring at it, don't take your eyes off of it. And I'm still looking away, and he's like, it moved. It went behind the stump again. So then I kind of turned to it, and this, at the very end, this thing's at the bottom, and it just kind of looks to the side of the stump. And then we just hear it kind of, the leaves ruffle, and you hear it just walk away, and it just fades off. And it kind of goes back to what Dustin said. Our whole game plan is, man, when we see this thing, we're going to charge, man. We're going to run at it. Whatever we got to do, grab a wad of hair off of it as it's running away, or get punched in the face, whatever happens, I don't know. But get it on film, If I'm going to die by this thing, just get great video, But it wasn't like Dustin said, it wasn't like we were afraid. It was just such disbelief of what we were seeing. And you just kind of get, and I don't want to say, because I'm not into that ultrasound or anything like that where I'm frozen in my tracks, but I was frozen in my tracks. You know what I mean? And I think I was just in awe of what it was. And we left and went back to our camp that night. We didn't say anything. We didn't call Dustin. We didn't call Shane. I mean, we were tight-lipped. And I even told Tim, I said, we're not going to talk about this. You know, let's focus on the night. Let's do our nighttime investigation. Get up tomorrow, and, you know, we'll break camp and head home. So on the way home, which is a 4.5-hour drive for us, we're about halfway, and Tim's like, do you want to talk about what happened, what we saw? And I said, man, we didn't see nothing. We saw a bear. And he's, oh, that wasn't no bear. I was like, oh, man, that was just a big raccoon. That wasn't no raccoon. You know what that was. So we let a couple days go by, and finally Tim and I talk, and I said, man, I'm 95% sure, you know, like I know what I saw. And he said, I'm 110% sure. So at that point, we kind of get with the guys and like, hey guys, this is what happened, you know, and what do you guys think? And we told the story, and I think we went back either that very next weekend or the weekend after, and there was a bigger group of us, and we just kind of reenacted it. And we had a guy standing there, and just the head only, you know, I think I had Kendall was down there. I mean, his head was just half the size of what that thing was. I mean, and Kendall, I mean, I'm not trying to say he's a little guy. Kendall's 6 foot. He's an average sized man, you know, and but this thing just dwarfed him, you know, and so I don't know. It was an awesome experience, but it just gave me more questions than answers. So
Yeah. That's cool, though.
that was awesome. Yeah.
Well, for our audience out there, Shane had a family obligation that he had to go take care of. And so we really want to appreciate Shane for coming on and speaking of his experiences. And we have one final question, and it's one of these opinion things to ponder on, but it's from Donald Fuller, and he says, where Bigfoot moved to Oklahoma, like the Native Americans' Trail of Tears. I guess it's just something to think about, like maybe a migration or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, if you've ever researched in Oklahoma, then you know what the terrain is like and how the habitat is just perfect for a large animal to survive. Do you have any thoughts on that, Dustin?
Well, I mean, it could very well be them migrating through. I mean, we just recently had somebody catch trail camera photos of a bear just, I believe it was north of I-40. Was that where it was, Brian? And, you know, for the longest time, they weren't even in southeast Oklahoma. Like I think in the last 10 years ago, started having a bear hunting season because we were finally getting bears coming in. And I think they just start moving in and they migrate and they find a good place that they like and they'll stay there. And if a group will come in and they'll get pushed out, so they have to go even farther. I think it's just they've migrated across, and each little group or clan, you know, finds a home, and that's where they hang out.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's not flat, and I think that's a big misconception that people have. I mean, this isn't Kansas, you know, like you can come to central Oklahoma and you're going to have some flat, you're going to have some farmland, you're not going to have a lot of big trees, but you're going to have pockets of very, very dense wood. I mean, you know, it may be several mile sections, but you get southeast Oklahoma, north, anything really east in green country, you know, east of I-35, it's going to be forest, it's going to be woods. And in my opinion, you know, if a bear can live there, then a Bigfoot can live there because they need a lot of the same things, you know. And of course, we can get a whole debate about what Bigfoot eats, but regardless of what he eats, if a bear can survive there and thrive, then why can't a Bigfoot? So
Why can't? Yeah. Okay, well, we're out of questions, but I have a question, and I guess I'll address it to Brian. Have you found any common denominators that has helped you connect the dots in the field?
Probably the key for us is water.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we found some of our better evidence near water, and that's been a real common denominator for us. You got to have a food source for sure, but you have to have water. Everything needs water. I mean, it's the basic necessity to life. And so a lot of our evidence has been found either on or near water. So that's what I'm looking for. And that's what I enjoy researching, is anything near water. So.
Larry, do you have any final questions?
No, I can say Shane's rolling down the road there.
Yeah.
I just appreciate these guys coming on. I always tune in whenever they go live out in the field to see what they found or what they're up to. And invite any of y'all that have not checked out the SBA on Facebook, go to Southern Bigfoot Alliance and join their page. There's a lot of good people and a lot of good information. And I do appreciate y'all joining us and sharing your Trackway finds with us and your stories. And poor Dustin had to answer too many questions.
Yeah. Well, I think Lauren got Spencer to ask a bunch of questions. So
Marco Polo.
Yeah, exactly.
Shane, I tell you what, I know you're driving and we're getting the wind from your audio, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. But I would like to give you this opportunity for any final comments.
Just come and join our group. Join all the other groups that we've joined. Texas Bigfoot Rangers. There's tons of them. Sisters of the Moon. There's all these great groups in the South. Pushing for the same goal. And it's time to work together, folks. Get this thing going.
That's really good advice. And Brian, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest thing is just keep an open mind. We're all going to interpret things differently, but the way we're going to solve this mystery is to get out there in the woods and get to looking. And I know there's a lot of folks that can't, and you can do your research there on your computer and contribute that way. I mean, that's a huge thing. But just get out in the woods and enjoy nature. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You get out there and you have a good time. Other than that, I mean, that's the only way we're going to solve this mystery is just getting out there and really looking. So,
Dustin, what about any final comments from you?
Yeah, I think the same way as Brian. If you go out for a whole weekend or a week and you don't hear a wood knock, you don't hear a whoop or anything, at least you're out there in nature, you're camping. And if you get mad because you go out for X amount of hours or days and you don't find anything or hear anything and you get mad about it, you should probably find a different hobby because you're going to be disappointed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And also at the same time on social media, if you're, come join us. And we let everybody post. If they want to post a picture that can't really tell what's there, we let them post it. And if, you can't see it or you don't believe in what they're saying, just keep it to yourself. Just let it, just keep scrolling. There's no need to keep talking about it. You have your own opinion. You would get mad if that person, started bashing your beliefs. So just keep your crap to yourself and just be nice. You know?
Hey, one more thing. So if you guys do have a picture that you're questioning or whatever, you can PM or email it to me. I've been using the Adobe Creative Suite for 15 years. I can do stuff to your photos to help you figure out what you're seeing if you're having problems seeing it. I won't put it public. It'll be just between you and I. I've helped out a lot of people that have sent me stuff, and I've never publicly shamed anybody or anything of that nature, because you know what? We all see as we see, and and you can't change that. But if I can help, then I'm definitely here to do that.
Well, that's what we need more of, is people wanting to help each other out and be nice to one another. It just boggles my mind when people choose to be ugly to one another. And Shane, we're getting a lot of interference from you, so we'll just go ahead and say good night. And we thank you so much for coming on, Shane.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right.
All right, now he's gone. We can talk.
We got so much more to tell you guys.
Well, we really want to thank y'all for coming on tonight. And Larry and I appreciate it. And we think highly of y'all individually and of the SBA. And it's just because of the way that y'all go about y'all's research and the way that y'all are inclusive with anybody, no matter where their knowledge level is on this topic. And I think that speaks well of y'all's character.
Thank you. We really appreciate you having us.
Okay. Beast TV would like to welcome all of our new Facebook members. For some reason, we've got 40 or 50 people that are coming and join every week. And the purpose of our page was to help train people with analyzing audio. But it has evolved into much more than that. And we have a wealth of information in our files tab. And so we welcome anybody. It doesn't matter what groups you are in. We just want to share what we learn, and we want to learn what you're willing to share from us. Beast TV wants to thank also all of our new subscribers and our faithful followers. Also, be sure to check out our field evidence videos and check out our sister channel, Beast of the Woods. That's Larry's channel. And we do these podcasts and these videos for you. So if you want to help us out, click the like button, leave us a comment, subscribe, and ring the bell for us. Larry and I would like to thank Sally for sending us the questions from our chat room tonight. And thanks to all of our moderators for keeping our chat room kid-friendly. Thanks again to each of you for watching, and we will see you again. Same bat time, same bat channel. Night, night, footers.
This has been a Sawdust production.